Hey there, this is your girl Candace. I'm coming at you all the way live from sunny South Florida. And while it is sunny, it is rather cool. And in fact, this week, in the evenings, we can expect temperatures down, even in Miami, Florida, down to like 48 degrees. And because of this week I'm making some more stick to your ribs type food. My body is also craving vegetables like crazy. I mean, I don't know why, probably because I haven't had that many or enough vegetables over the past month. So I've been making veggielicious entrees, like a very veggielicious chicken soup, egg roll in a bowl made of ground turkey. And I've also made some stick to your ribs, breakfast burritos with eggs and ground turkey and some of my vegan nacho cheese sauce. So it's been a very tasty week. It's been, it's a very tasty week. It's a very delicious week. It's a very healthy week. And I think you're going to enjoy these entrees. And let me know in the comments how your first week is going. Let me know if you're struggling, what you're attacking first in your pantry or what have you. I am attacking a lot of the fresh vegetables and stuff that I have in my pantry. I'm attacking, some of the stuff in my refrigerator that I had to go through first or whatever. So that's how I'm doing it basically. All right. So without further ado, let's get cooking. All right. So now I'm cooking the turkey. And I put half the seasoning on top and without the flip it. And put the remainder of the seasoning on the turkey. I'm just breaking the turkey up here. So that each burrito can have. It also helps to distribute the seasonings kind of more evenly. All right, so we're gonna let that cook a little bit. And now I'm gonna go ahead and blend the cottage cheese. All right, so this recipe calls for peppers and onions. And I have some in my Phillies and peppers and onions in my freezer, which I'm now gonna make use of. So we're gonna cook those on here. And I'm just breaking up some of the paprika and onion. Now, frozen peppers and onions cook faster than, say, raw ones. So I'm just gonna make sure they get all down here on the meat. And now, on top. And so once these, sorry about that, once these actually cook down, I'm gonna add the cottage cheese, and then I'm gonna move this over to a bowl. This is going to be part of our burrito filling next. I gotta say, this smells heavenly. And it looks pretty darn good too. All right, we'll let this cook there. All right, so now I'm putting in the cottage cheese that I blended. And you can see the texture is completely different. I'm not a big cottage cheese eater, but since I've been making these recipes, I love the fact that it bumps up the protein in many meals. And I don't mind it when it's this smooth. What I hate about it is that cottage cheese consistency. The one that looks nasty when it's all in clumps or whatever occurs. So what I'm doing in here is mixing in, and why am I doing that with this metal on my pans? I do not know. Is mixing in cottage cheese everywhere. The cottage cheese with the meat. And I'm actually going to turn off the heat. Cottage cheese all over my fingers. Um, All right. So mix in very well. All right. So that's the oven you hear in the background, which means that the potatoes are done. So I'm about ready to pull those out. And in this pot, I have my eggs, which the recipe calls for 8 eggs. I decided not to use egg whites on top of that because there's plenty of protein in this recipe with the cottage cheese, the wraps we're going to use, and also the vegan queso sauce we're going to use. So I decided not to go overboard and add egg whites to this recipe. All right, so what I'm doing here is helping and to cook. All right, so they're done. And then we're going to move these and the potatoes over to the bowl. And I'm going to make my queso sauce. All right. If you've been watching me for any amount of time, you know that I have a signature vegan queso cheese sauce that I like to use. And so in here, I have a cup of cashews that I had pretty much boiled because I was too lazy to soak them or too impatient to soak them for the requisite amount of time. I also have 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. And here I'm putting in 1 tablespoon of chili powder. All right. And putting in, the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of, sorry about that. I'm always bumping the camera. Of, what do you call it? Of chipotle powder, but that's a little bit too hot for me. So I put in like 1.5. calls for 1 teaspoon of salt. Calls for 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. It calls for 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Actually, 3 tablespoons of fresh squeeze. Because I'm using concentrated, I'll probably just use 2. Because this is very strong. Calls for half a cup of nutritional yeast. So I'm using quarter cup measuring spoons here. And it calls for a cup of water, which I have here. All right. So I have the 1 cup of cashews, the 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, the half cup of nutritional yeast, the 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, the 1 tablespoon of chili powder, the 1.5 teaspoons of chipotle powder, the fresh squeezed lemon juice. It calls for 3 tablespoons, 1 clove of garlic. That's the one thing I'm missing, and 1 cup of water and 1 teaspoon of salt. All right. I'm going to put the garlic in here, and then I'm going to go ahead and blend it so that you can see the queso sauce once it's done. Okay, so at this point, I went ahead and mixed in the sauce with the remainder of the dish, and then I rolled the breakfast burritos. And I rolled them in the parchment paper first. I put 2 small burritos per, for breakfast. And I rolled them in a parchment paper first, and then I rolled them into foil. And the reason why I did 2 is because I didn't have the larger burritos. Normally I do burrito-sized tortillas, and in this case, I didn't have burrito-sized tortillas, but I was using low-carb tortillas, so I wanted this to be a high-protein, not-so-carby breakfast. And I went ahead and did that, and the reason why I rolled it in parchment paper and then in foil is that that's the best way to freeze it. All right, so now it's time to make breakfast. I went ahead and I put um, these in the microwave for 1.5 minutes. Then I threw in here some ghee and a little bit of salt. I like doing that on the outside. And now I'm going to crisp them up here in the pan and have them for breakfast. So this is my breakfast burritos, with the turkey and the eggs and the nacho cheese sauce, the vegan nacho cheese sauce. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm going to go ahead and, crisp them up, brown them up a little bit, and then I'm going to have them for breakfast. It only takes like a few minutes in the morning as opposed to cooking them from scratch. And that's one of the reasons why I like to meal prep my breakfast, you know, early in the week. All right. Breakfast is done. All right. So we're making egg roll in the bowl. And my ground meat of choice today is going to be turkey. That's going to be my protein. And I've already started cooking it here in this pot. And now I'm breaking it up with a spatula. But I also have to season it. So the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of onion powder. That's a half a teaspoon. I put half a teaspoon on the other side. And then it also calls for salt and pepper. And we know, if you've been watching my channel, that I like to use Goya adobo as my salt and pepper because there's salt and pepper in here and garlic, some garlic. Not a lot. All right, so then now I am breaking up the turkey pieces. Here's my spatula, because we don't want lumps of turkey in here. So, we can do. All right. So the next step is going to be to put in the veggies. All right. So now let me just turn this down my low. Now the recipe calls for 4 teaspoons of garlic. I'm using my minced garlic here. Luckily, I love garlic, so that's not an issue for me. It also calls for fresh grated ginger, which I don't have. So I'm going to go ahead and use some ginger powder. Which apparently I don't have much of. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't really have any ginger. So we're going to do without ginger. All right, so we're going to move around the garlic so it cooks. Nobody likes uncooked garlic or raw garlic in their food. All right, and while that's cooking down there, I'm going to actually prepare the sauce. So this calls for 1/3 of a cup of soy sauce, which I have here. It calls for a tablespoon of white vinegar. Calls for a tablespoon of rice vinegar and 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. And this is toasted sesame oil. And what I'm going to do, which is kind of unorthodox, is to put a little tiny bit of that in here to see if we can't get rid of this ginger out of here. Yep. All right, so we got a little bit of ginger in there. Okay, so now we're going to add the veggies. And this is a high veggie egg roll in the bowl. It's got a lot of vegetables in it. So I'm just going to use some ice water that I got from the supermarket. And I'm also going to use some matchstick carrots that I bought from the supermarket. Now, this recipe calls for edamame, but I don't really have any edamame. So we're going to have to make do. And then it tells me that I should pour the sauce over the top. And I am making a great mess out of this. So I've poured the sauce over the top. And I'm just going to have to cook this down in here until the veggies soften. Now, I really do need some vegetables. I have not been eating nearly enough vegetables lately. So this will actually do me a lot of good. And what we'll do is we'll come back when the veggies soften. All right. So it dawned on me that since I was using so many more vegetables than the recipe called for, the recipe only called for like 12 ounces of coleslaw and less of the carrots I'm going to use, that I need to actually put in a little bit more sauce. So I did that. And then I mixed it through so that the turkey is now kind of on top of the veggies. And as you can see, they wilted down quite a bit. So now let's give this a taste to see if it's seasoned enough. It's really tasty, but the veggies are still very crunchy. So I need for them to cook down a little bit more. And I feel like it's missing maybe a sweet taste. Like when you have egg rolls, some people like it with duck sauce. I'm thinking I could really use some like sweet chili sauce. So I'm gonna do that. A little bit of sweet chili sauce in here, just to take the edge off and to give it a more well-rounded taste. Other than that, it's delicious. So I think we're good to go. And you could have this over rice, or you could have it by itself. I'm going to have it by itself. I think I need a really healthy dish of like meat and veggies. And I'm not all that hungry tonight, but I'm going to have like a nice healthy dish of meat and veggies for dinner. Because I had like too many nuts today. I had some peanuts and I was noshing on them and I ate too many of them. So I'm going to just enjoy me some meat and veggies. All right. So din din is done. And that's what we have for dinner tonight. All right, y'all. All right. So what you're seeing now is the inside of an Instant Pot. Well, I get a facial from me. And what I'm doing is I'm going to put in some bones that I roasted in the oven. And I'm going to make some chicken stock. Now, I found these bones in my freezer. And they were taking up space in the freezer. So I have all the extra stock that I showed you in the first video. But I really didn't need it because I could have done 2 months of cooking based on all this stock that I'm going to be cooking today. So it's pretty insane, if I say so myself. And I not only have that one pot worth of bones, I also have this other pot, which I hope you're seeing, worth of bones as well. And I also have additional bones on another sheet tray, believe it or not. So in each of these pans, I've put basically 2 carrots, or whatever, peeled and whatever. And then I also put like a little bit of onion with the peel on it. Onion that was about to go bad, so I'm making use of it in my refrigerator. And I'm also going to put in all the juices that were roasting on the sheet pan. And basically, this is all the chicken pieces that I've gotten from some rotisserie chicken that I had bought and pulled the chicken off of. So this is not shocking, but I mean, for those of you who cook a lot from home already, you know that you can make stock from rotisserie chickens. But by doing this is my third pot over here. By doing this, I am basically making use of. Oh, heck, I locked the oven by mistake. I'll be right back. Whenever I lock my oven like that, I never know how to get it open. I have to play with it. It's ridiculous. All right, so I have more, as you can see here, chicken to put in my pots. So I'll be doing that. But anyway, so yeah, I buy rotisserie chicken a lot because it's really convenient. Although you probably really shouldn't health-wise. I mean, theoretically, some of the chickens that you get might not be the healthiest food or whatever. from the store. You should, roast your own chickens to make sure they're organic, yada, yada, yada. I'm a working woman. I don't have 5 years every single day to be messing around with stuff like that. So I do make use of rotisserie chicken sometimes and from time to time, um, for convenience foods like chicken salads or chicken enchiladas or some pasta dishes. There's so many dishes that you can actually make with pre-shredded rotisserie chicken, casserole dishes, things of that nature. So what doing here is I'm trying to be equitable, and I'm actually, dividing among these 3 vessels all the chicken juice, chicken pieces, chicken skins, what have you, with which I'm going to be using to make this delicious chicken stock. So I have onion in there, I have carrots in there, and I'm also going to throw in like a couple of bay leaves in each one of these. And then I'm basically going to boil them for, or, simmer them or whatever for 2 hours. So basically we're going to get all the goodness out of here. um, and then one of the Instant Pop going to be pressure cooked for 2 hours. And I hear that the pressure cooker makes a really good stock. And I'm kind of intrigued by that because I've never done it in a pressure cooker before, which I don't know why. I've had this Instant Pot forever, but for some reason I didn't. They also said that you should throw in some ACV, otherwise known as apple cider vinegar with the mother. And I've had this apple cider vinegar, thank God it doesn't go bad, for the longest time. So I'm really happy to put it to use. So that sound is me splashing it into the 3 pots like a maniac. And I hope I didn't put too much. All right, I probably didn't put enough, knowing me. All right, so I'm going to be filling these with water, and I'm going to be boiling them in the stove, and we'll come back when, after 2 hours, when the broth is done, or the stock is done, because this is going to be bone broth, basically. And we'll give it a taste test. See you then. All right, so as you can see, the recipe I have for broth gave me actually much more than these 6 containers of broth. I still have more in a pot behind the camera. So give me about 7 or 8. Now in this pot, I'm trying not to burn. We had it in here for a while. Some onions and some celery. And I'm going to turn this down a little bit while I do the rest of this. I'm actually going to roll in some garlic. This is going to be the beginning of my chicken soup. And I like a lot of garlic. The recipe itself, which I will put in the description, has very specific instructions. So, but I'm only using the instructions for the things that are really important to measure. And for me, I like a lot of garlic, so I'm just putting in a lot of garlic. All right. Now, I'm also going to put in some chicken broth flavoring, which will enhance the flavor of my broth. By the way, I did a speed test of the broth that was done in the pressure cooker, my Instant Pot, versus the broth that was done on top of the stove. And there wasn't an appreciable difference in the taste. So basically, and I didn't put any salt in the broth. I didn't season it that way because I had my broth pretty just chickeny without a whole bunch of other flavors in it. And that way I get to control the sodium in my meal. So that's one of the benefits in making home broth. You can make it salt-free and still rather tasty by putting in other seasonings or even different vegetables. Now I've added 500 grams of some of that rotisserie chicken that we had. And I chopped it up into smaller pieces. That's 500 grams of rotisserie chicken. This recipe calls for parsley, which I don't have. So I'm going to use a couple of pinches of this dried parsley. To give it that taste. And this recipe calls for 454 grams of both peas and carrots. And I just realized something. I'm using frozen peas and carrots. And if I want 454 grams of both peas and carrots, I'm going to need 2 bags of this. I don't know why I was thinking about just thinking of one, because obviously there's going to be half of each in each bag. I got that from a while back. I got that a long while ago at Sprouts. So they have these bags of Sprouts. And they're the perfect size, which I love. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. These are frozen. Which is a good convenience, but they're really, they're non-GMO. We know it's good food. From Sprouts, so it's a real food. One of the reasons why I love this recipe is that it's so veggielicious. You know what I mean? It has, the carrot, and the peas. It has the celery. It has the onions. And I just love that. Even though this is an anabolic recipe that's really high protein, it's also veggielicious. So it gives you more nutrition that way. All right. Now, the recipe calls for 4 cups of broth. Luckily here, we got it pre-measured. It calls for 8 cups actually. So that'll be 2 of these. And I make this broth, if you recall, with the rotisserie chicken. And more broth will go in here a little bit later, like towards the end. For right now, that's what it calls for. And I also have to add in now, at this point, my pasta. So let me go measure that out real quick. I'll be right back. All right. This recipe calls for 224 grams of beans of pasta. I want to pay some high protein pasta. I like to use, and that bag was pretty much the right size, which is pretty amazing. Now, I'm supposed to bring this up to a boil and then turn it down to a simmer for 10 to 12 minutes so that the pasta can cook through. And this pasta takes a little bit more time to cook through, but I'm going to let it do that. And then when I come back, I'll be putting in some spinach, which is even more veggielicious, right? Some even more vegetables. And I'm pretty excited about that. All right, so I'm going to raise this a little bit so it can come to a boil. And I'm going to bring you back when it's time to add the remaining vegetables. Okay. All right. So the timer is going off. And I'm supposed to add spinach to this. Now, the recipe calls for 9 grams of spinach. I just have this 5 grams of spinach container. It's organic. Oops. So that's what we're going to be using. And this is actually baby spinach and it's pre-washed, so pretty happy about that. All right, so I'm going to actually push this down in here. And you can see the spinach will down to nothing fairly quickly. It also calls me to add a little bit more of the stock in here. So I'm going to do that as well. This is veggielicious, which is fantastic. So let me see if I can add more stock. And I actually have some box stock that I need to use up. So I'll just add that in here and get it out of my refrigerator. Because we're supposed to be using up what we already have. Neat. And it also calls for me to add some turmeric. Oops. Probably not that much, but hey. Into the dish. And if you add turmeric, you have to add pepper. Because turmeric needs pepper to activate. And although there's already some pepper in my favorite seasoning, it's sazon goya, I just want to add a little bit more. And that gives it a beautiful yellow color. Look at that. Not to mention some more nutrients. So this guy, it's the Exercise for Cheat Meals channel. And it's Exercise with the number 4 Cheat Meals channel. He makes anabolic recipes. And his name is Nick, I think. And by anabolic, in this case, it's taking a regular chicken soup recipe and making it even more high protein by doing things like using protein pasta, by making sure there's enough chicken in here to make sure you're getting about 50 grams of protein per serving. So he takes regular recipes and he finds ways to make them higher protein while also still being delicious. And to me, that's important because, it's one thing to watch what you're eating. It's another thing to eat food that doesn't taste good because you can't sustain that. I know I can't. So let me give this a taste. I doubt very seriously that this needs more salt because I used, besides some goya, I used, chicken stock or whatever, powder, chicken bouillon, and things of that nature in here. So paprika, garlic. I gotta tell you, that soup tastes fresh, delicious, well seasoned, like something I definitely want to put in my body. I love that. Only thing I'm gonna do, because it needs the tiniest little bit, it's kind of sweet, which I don't know. Maybe it's the carrots. It's just a tiniest bit sweet. So I'm gonna add a little tiny bit of this roasted garlic flavor. My Kinder's wood fire garlic seasoning that I love to use, that I put on everything. And this is done. I mean, this is done. And it looks fantastic. Now, this big old pot is supposed to be 4 servings. I don't know about you, but I can't eat this much soup. In 4 servings. I mean, each serving is like 565 calories, 50 grams of protein. If you get over 30 grams of protein in your meal, you're doing good. So I'll probably make this 6 servings, which will bring it down to like 30 something or 40 grams of protein and maybe 400 and something calories per meal, or high 3s. So we should be even better. So I'm going to make this 6 servings. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually figure it out, and maybe I'll put it in the notes for you, whatever, to the video. All right. I'm going to go this is making me salivate. I'm going to go make me a bowl, have some dinner, and then I'm going to clean up this mess I have in here. All right. Then it's done. And there you have it. I have thoroughly enjoyed eating, the egg roll in the bowl, eating the breakfast burritos. I think I have my last one in the fridge. And I have thoroughly enjoyed. I so enjoyed that soup last night. It was so delicious. The chicken soup. And I still have like 4 more servings left. So I'm pretty excited about that. And to eat that this week, especially since it's going to be so cold. Brr. I hate when it gets cold in Florida. My mother used to tease me, because she lived in New York most of her life, except for the couple of years that she was down here. And she used to tease me about my blood having thinned. Since I've been in Florida since 1992. And it's true. I can't take cold weather the way I used to. I used to take the bus to school and to work in Manhattan or whatever when I was in New York, and sit out there waiting on a bus, in freezing weather with my, coat on and my boots. I don't do that anymore. And the thing is, the heat here in Florida, to be fair, isn't like the heat in New York, right? In New York, you usually have heat going, pretty well. Like they have that down pat, whereas they may not have the air conditioning down pat in New York. Here, they don't have the heat down pat. So anyway, I'm rambling. So the next video will be coming out on Wednesday. And in the next video, you'll see some additional dishes that I'll be cooking. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe. And definitely check out the playlist in case you missed the first video about the 3 Rivers Challenge. All right, y'all. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.